Okay, I'm going to start us off with this next talk of cultivating healthy mental states: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. These are 4 healthy mental states that are going to antidote specific aspects of your mind where you're having certain feelings and emotions and difficulties and struggles. This is where the Buddha almost gets the description of being like a doctor, that there's certain symptoms in your mind, and then there's a certain prescription. And what you're doing here is you're gaining this wisdom and almost like a tool belt where when you see the symptoms in your mind, you'll know what the prescription is and you can bring that in and then actually apply it. But if you don't understand this, then you won't know the prescription, right? So I'm going to teach you what are the 4 healthy mental states. I'm going to teach you the symptoms that you're going to see when you don't have these 4 mental states. And then that way you'll know whenever you see these symptoms to bring in these healthy mental states. Okay, so just like always, you guys are welcome to ask any and all questions that you like. So these are referred to as the Brahma-viharas. Where this word comes from, this phrase comes from, is during the lifetime of the Buddha, there were people called Brahmin. These are Hindu priests, what we might think of them today. They were doing rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, prayer. People were taught that you as a common person couldn't improve your life. You had to go to these Brahmin and pay them a fee, and then they're going to do a ritual and ceremony on your behalf, and your life was going to get better. And the way that you became a Brahmin is you were born into this family. And they thought that, okay, if you were born into this family, you were a holy person and you were now able to do these ceremonies, and now you're going to help other people lead a better life by doing these ceremonies. Well, this bred a lot of corruption because people would come to these people, they would pay money for a ceremony, they would go home, their life didn't get better, they would go back and say, hey, I need another ceremony, and it's like, well, the price is increased, now you need to pay us more money. Well, why? Well, because I said so, and you can't do anything about it because you were taught that you couldn't do anything to change your life. So these were people called Brahmin, and they were worshiping a god named Brahma. This was the god that they worshiped, named Brahma. So they not only did these rites, rituals, ceremonies, and worship, but they taught a little bit about moral conduct. They taught a little bit about some other things, and they used to teach what's called the Brahma-viharas. Brahma meaning God, Vihara meaning dwelling or place to reside. So what these Brahmin were teaching is that if you'd like to be close with God, you needed to practice these 4 mental states, and that's what's going to help you get close to God. Well, the Buddha grew up in this kind of environment, and he was guiding people towards enlightenment because he understood what it took to get to enlightenment. And when he understood the Brahma-viharas, he didn't think about it in the same way as the Brahmin that, hey, I would like you to get closer to God. He was thinking about it in terms of antidoting the mind's certain symptoms that were plaguing the mind. So while it's referred to as the Brahma-viharas, and this is the origin of that word and that phrase, the Buddha never taught it as a dwelling with God or this is how you dwell with God. He taught it as this is how you transform your mind to liberate it from these discontent feelings. But this word Brahma-viharas goes back to that. So that's why I share that with you guys, so you'll know what this word comes from or where this word comes from. But the way that I think about these is 4 healthy mental states. That's the way that it would be wise to think about them, because the Buddha is not teaching you to dwell with God. But surely if you're interested in a relationship with God, if you were practicing these, surely that is going to help you to have a better relationship with God. But that's not the ultimate goal of what the Buddha is teaching you. So there's 4 healthy mental states. The first one is one that we were just talking about, loving kindness, because I taught you guys loving kindness meditation this morning, so you're a bit familiar with that. This is active goodwill towards all beings without judgment, a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. This is going to antidote your anger, hatred, ill will, and all those lesser versions like frustration, irritation, annoyance, bitterness, hostility, even the slightest dislike. So whenever you see those in your mind, you would like to bring up this loving kindness in your mind. So if you're, say, show up to the airport and you go to the ticket counter and your flight's delayed, and you're noticing that your anger's coming up towards this ticket person. They're not causing your anger. that's your craving to have that flight take off on time. They're not the ones who are causing your anger. But if you see that anger and frustration starting to arise, you should know the antidote to that is loving kindness. So instead of being bitter and harsh and hostile with the person at the ticket counter, instead bring up your loving kindness. Be like, oh, thank you so much, sir, for letting me know about this flight. That's really unfortunate that it's delayed. How long is it going to be delayed? Oh, 3 hours? Okay, I understand. Thank you for letting me know. Being bitter and harsh and hostile with this person isn't going to change anything, right? It's just going to produce unwholesome results for you. So where you see your mind experiencing any of these unwholesome qualities, you'd like to cut off that unwholesome quality of anger, hatred, ill will, frustration, agitation, bitterness, harshness, animosity, resentment, and now bring in the loving kindness. The way that you do that is by practicing loving kindness meditation. So you're going to need to be consistently practicing loving kindness meditation to bring this up in the mind. But then in your day-to-day life, you're going to need to be loving and kind through your intention, speech, and actions. And wherever you see the anger, frustration, agitation, get rid of that stuff and bring up the loving kindness. And more, that'll be easy for you. Initially, and with people that you're close to, that's going to be really hard because you have attachment. You have craving, desire, attachment. So you're going to be bitter and harsh and hostile with these people. But more and more, you need to learn how to get rid of that attachment so that now you can be loving and kind with all beings. So wherever you see your mind having these unwholesome qualities, bring in the loving kindness within your mind and apply the effort to do that. Then you've got compassion. Compassion is the concern for the misfortune of others. On opposite sides of this, you've got on one side where you're indifferent and you could care less about other people's misfortune. On the other side, you've got worry and anxiety about every little thing that's going on in the world. That's not in the middle. In the middle, there's concern, where you can be concerned for others' misfortune. Whether you actually take action to do anything or not, that's up to you. And each situation is going to be unique. The Buddha's not teaching you to always feed the homeless or always take care of this or that. That's not what he's teaching you. He's just teaching you to cultivate the mental state. And then whether you put any action behind it or not is going to be unique in that situation. There's different variables in every situation, and you're going to need to decide for yourself what to do in any given situation. So you're going to need compassion, where you have concern for the misfortune of others, where you're not indifferent to other people's difficulties, but you're also not worried and having anxiety either. So there's times where I used to ride a motorbike a lot, and I would ride down the motorbike and I would see someone get in an accident, right? And sometimes I would stop. Right? And I would put my kickstand down. I would go over, are you okay, ma'am? Are you okay, sir? Do you need any help? I'd try to help this person. That was the action of generosity that now, because of my compassion, I was practicing this generosity to now help that person. But there were other times where I was driving down the street on my motorbike, and maybe my son was at home without any food, and he'd been there all day without food, and it's now like 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and I've got a pizza that I'm bringing home to him on my motorbike, and maybe somebody gets in a motorbike accident. And now I look and I see, oh, they've got somebody helping them. There's 2 or 3 people over there helping them. Okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to keep on going home, and I'm going to bring this pizza to my son because I have compassion for him too, right? It's not that he's more important or anything like that. It's just that, hey, those people are already taken care of. Now let me just keep on going. Right? So there's still compassion there, but compassion doesn't necessarily equate to action. In every situation is going to be a little bit different. But if you have the compassion, then your mind is practicing what you need to practice in order to eliminate indifference and then to eliminate anxiety and worry. So once I saw that that person was being helped, I didn't think about them any further, right? I didn't have any worry or anxiety. I didn't feel guilty or shameful that I didn't stop because I don't have a craving. I don't have a desire. I know that in some situations I'll stop and help. In other situations I won't, right? And that's just impermanence. So you can train your mind to have this compassion where you have the concern for others' misfortune, but whether you choose to act upon it is going to be unique in each individual situation. So wherever you see indifference or worry or anxiety, you would like to use your mindfulness to be able to see those and cut that off and let it go. And then apply right effort to bring in your compassion. And that's what's going to get rid of the worry and anxiety. Okay, so this is loving kindness and compassion. Do you guys have any questions on this? No questions? Okay, let me check online here. See if we have anything. Okay, I don't see anything here. Okay, so now sympathetic joy and equanimity. What sympathetic joy is joy for others' success, even if you didn't contribute to it. Okay, this is going to help you eliminate any kind of jealousy or envy that's in the mind. Because if you have jealousy or envy, it's coming from your craving, your longing, your yearning. You see something wonderful is happening for someone else, and you're like, I want that too. Why them? Why not me? The mind's longing, yearning for that thing. That's the craving, desire, attachment. So you're at work, you apply for a promotion. Some of your coworkers apply for a promotion. They get the job instead of you. Now the jealousy and envy comes in. That's because of your craving, your longing, yearning, wanting this job, where you would like to get to the point where you have joy for their success, even if you didn't contribute to it. Because if somebody was on their way to Thailand and you had been to Thailand before, you'd already done that, you'd be like, have a good time, enjoy yourself. You'd have joy for their success that they're going to Thailand. But this job that you want, because it has more money, a better title, a nicer office, these kinds of things, you really want that. So now your mind's jealous. So where you see the jealousy coming up, you need to be aware of that with your mindfulness. That's why the Eightfold Path is so important. Without the Eightfold Path, you wouldn't be able to practice any of these other teachings. That where you see the jealousy and envy, you need to then apply right effort to cut that off and let it go. That's eliminating the unwholesome quality. And then you apply right effort to bring in the wholesome quality of sympathetic joy. It's like a tool belt. It's like a prescription. Where you see the symptom, you bring in the prescription to antidote it. Right? So the symptom is jealousy or envy, bring in the sympathetic joy. And that's what's going to help you in this particular case to get rid of envy and jealousy. And ultimately, you need to get rid of the craving, desire, attachment that's causing that, right? But this is what's going to help you to antidote that. Then there's something called equanimity. And there's two sides to this. I'm going to teach you both parts of it. Equanimity, the first part, is calmness and composure, especially in difficult situations, evenness of temper, right? And then there's a part of treating everybody equally. Okay, so equanimity is really beneficial for you because if your mind is all shaken up, where you're not calm, where you're not composed, you'll make unwise decisions. And that's going to lead to unwholesome results. So say you get a phone call that your mom's been in a terrible car accident and she's in the back of an ambulance being rushed to the hospital. Well, if you have an attachment to your mom, you'll be really shaken up by that. You might want to grab your car keys, jump in the car, race across town, show up to the hospital. If you got there, you might have got an accident yourself on the way, right, based on your unwise decisions. But now if you even get to the hospital, your mind's all shaken up. The doctors and nurses are trying to talk to you and tell you what's going on, and you can't even comprehend what they're saying because you're so worried and your mind's so shaken up. Right? So you're not really helping your mom in this situation, right? So the Buddha is teaching you to maintain your calmness and your composure. And the reason why the mind's doing this is because of his attachment to your mom. You're having a craving for your mom to be permanently healthy. And she can't be. It's not possible. She's an impermanent being. So that means she's going to be unhealthy sometimes. But if you crave permanent health of your mom, when you hear she's unhealthy, you'll be shaken up by that. So what the Buddha is teaching you is to maintain your calmness and composure. So now you hear your mom is in a car accident and you notice the uncalm, unsettledness coming up, you cut that off and let it go. And you bring in the equanimity. And you're like, hold on a second. Mom's in the back of an ambulance. That's the best place for her. She's got emergency medical technicians with her. And she's about to arrive to a hospital with sophisticated equipment and doctors and nurses. Perfect. Let me calmly make my way to the hospital so that when I show up, I can talk to the doctors and nurses, find out what's going on, and then I can make some decisions to help her. That's what you would like to be able to do, right? But as long as you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, you'll find that to be very challenging. So that's why you need the Eightfold Path to be working on that and knocking that down. But wherever you see your mind is uncalm and unsteady and shaken up, you'd like to calm that down with the equanimity and bring in your equanimity. So your child comes home with bad grades, you're noticing your mind's starting to get upset, calm down, calm down. It's not going to help you to be upset. Your child falls or your life partner or your friend falls and breaks their arm, No need to be all frazzled by that. This is just some impermanence. Let's put on a tourniquet. Let's put on a splint, whatever it is. Let's call the ambulance. Let's get them to the hospital and get this fixed, right? Being shaken up by this isn't your love. That's what you're used to, thinking that that's what that is. That's your craving, desire, attachment that's causing your mind to shake up in that situation. It's not your love. Love is a genuine interest in seeing this being be well. That doesn't cause the mind to be shaken up. It's the craving for permanence, wanting them to be permanently well. And now when you're experiencing this impermanence, which is their arm is broken, now you're shaken up by that because your mind's craving this permanence when you can't get it. It's not possible. You live in an impermanent world. So this equanimity, this calmness and composure, evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations, is going to allow you to access your wisdom. Because when the mind's calm, you'll have mindfulness or awareness of mind. When you have mindfulness, you can have concentration or focus or clarity. And when you can have focus and clarity, you can access your wisdom. And now you can make wise decisions that are producing wholesome results. But when your mind's uncalm, you don't have mindfulness, you don't have awareness of mind, you don't have concentration, and you can't access your wisdom. And now when you're putting out those unwise decisions, now you're going to experience unwholesome results. So you need to get to the point where you're making 100% wise decisions. That's how you're going to get to enlightenment, is through 100% wise decisions in every single situation that you're in. Okay? So the way that you do this is anytime you see the mind is opposite of this, you cut that off and let that go. Let go of the unwholesome quality of the unsteadiness, the unstableness, and now you bring in the equanimity. And as you're doing this, you might even have to close your eyes sometimes. She's in the ambulance. She'll be okay. She's arriving to the hospital, right? You might need to do that. Ultimately, when your mind's completely transformed, you won't have to do that. Your mind will just always be calm no matter what you're doing. But on your way to it, you might need to do these kinds of things. Okay, then there's this other part of equanimity. It's treating everyone impartially. The root word here to equanimity is equal, right? So if you started treating some people some way and other people another way, like say you went to work and you have 8 coworkers and you bought 3 of them a milkshake at the store and you didn't buy the other 5, they're going to get jealous. Right? Those other 5, because they have craving, they have desire, right? And now their jealousy, that painful feeling they're having, they're attributing that to you because they don't understand the Four Noble Truths. They think you're causing that painful feeling of jealousy. And now they're going to push you away. They're going to be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or they're going to be putting their expectations on you. So one of the things the Buddha is teaching you is not only how to get to calmness and composure in your own mind and peacefulness and joy, he's teaching you how to navigate the world with all these unenlightened beings. Because there's going to be people around you that have craving, desire, attachment. So if you can bring in 8 milkshakes and you can afford that, then do it. If not, then don't bring them in, right? It's wiser to not do that. So you're going to need to treat everybody equally. If you have more than one child, for example, you're going to need to treat all the children equally. Or if you bring a gift home to your family, you would like to bring a gift for everybody, right? Because if you treat people differently in different situations, now you're going to have difficulties. I'm taking this trip coming up in about 5 months. I'm going to go to India and Nepal with students. They asked me to take them to the sites of the Buddha, where he was born, where he got enlightened, where he gave his first speech, where he died, and all these other sites. And we're doing a 12-day tour. And there's a certain student that said, hey, we're going right past my parents' hotel. We own this hotel. Can we stop? And I would like to feed the students, and we're going to host this meal for them. Great idea. Really lovely. This is wonderful generosity, right? This is great that this person's offering this. But as the tour leader, if I stop for this person and I do that, well, then when the next person says, hey, I was in India a few years ago and there's this really great place over here. Can we take everybody over here and go over here? Well, if I do it for this guy and I don't do it for this person over here, I'm treating people impartially, right? I need to treat everybody equally. So this individual who's offering this great generosity, I had to decline the offer, right? Because otherwise I'm putting myself in a situation where now when somebody else asks something similar, now I'd have to do it for that person too. So you need to treat everybody equally in all these different situations. So you need to be able to see that, hey, let's just say you would like to bring cupcakes, or let's just say a cake to work. And let's just say you work at a company that has 300 people. You can't afford 300 cupcakes or a cake that's going to feed 300 people, perhaps. So maybe what you do is you go into work, you put the cake in the conference room, and you send out an email that says, hey, everybody, I'd like to just offer you some cake. I brought in a cake for my birthday. You guys are welcome to help yourself to some cake. And now let's just say the first 50 that go there, they get a piece of cake. But the other ones who come afterwards, they don't get the piece of cake. That's on them. That's their decision that they came and they didn't actually get the cake because they came a little bit later. But for you, you're making it available to everybody. Right? So you would like to practice equanimity where you're treating everyone equally. All 300 people had the opportunity to come get a piece of cake, but it was on them to choose whether or not they're going to come at a certain time to get the cake or not. So in situations like this, what we're talking about is generosity, but I'm connecting it to equanimity and showing you how to practice your generosity equally with all people. So you'd like to treat everybody equally. And this is what's going to promote the most success in your life. If you were a business owner, for example, and you have 20 different employees, if you treated some employees one way and another employees a different way, people are going to be frustrated with you as a boss. And you're going to find your business doesn't do so well because some of your employees are going to be feeling really great. Other employees are going to be angry and frustrated with you because you treat people differently. You would like to treat everybody equally. And this is what's going to promote the best results in your day-to-day life. So the Buddha is teaching you how to get to peace and joy, but he's teaching you how to navigate the world with unenlightened beings where they're going to have cravings. They're going to have desires. They're going to want things to be a certain way. So this is the natural laws. The Buddha is teaching you that when you treat everybody equally, you're not going to have any issues because you're treating everybody equally. So this is equanimity, calmness and composure, evenness of temper, especially in difficult situations, and treating everyone equally. And wherever you see your mind's not doing that, you would like to be able to do that. Okay, so any questions on sympathetic joy or equanimity? No questions here? Okay, so as I shared with you guys, it was going to be really straightforward for me to teach this to you, just 20 minutes. So now it's 12:30. We can end our day here. You guys can enjoy the rest of your day, and we're going to pick things up tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm going to start off with loving kindness meditation. I might give like a little intro because there'll be extra people here. On Wednesday, we have regular classes, so this room's going to have extra people that weren't here today. So I might teach them just a little bit about loving kindness meditation, but then we're going to actually just do loving kindness meditation. And then afterwards, I'm going to teach true love, love without attachment. This is going to be the real focal point of this course because you're not going to ever be able to get to harmonious relationships until you understand true love. So I'm going to teach you guys what is true love because right now there's a good chance that you don't understand what true love is and you're not practicing true love. And that's the reason why you're not having the most success in all your relationships. When you start practicing true love, more and more true love will come back to you. But if you don't even know what true love is, you won't even be able to identify it when it's coming back to you. So I'm going to teach you what it is and how to actually practice it. Then we're going to take our mid-morning break. And when we come back, I'm going to teach you practicing in a world of the unknowing, having relationships with non-practitioners, people who aren't practicing these teachings, because they're going to be thinking about the world in a completely different way than you in the way that you interact. So I'm going to teach you guys that. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to teach you how to eliminate attachment to those who are closest to you. Your life partner, your children, your parents, your siblings, people like this, because those are the most challenging attachments to eliminate. And those are also the relationships where you have the most difficulties. So I'll teach you guys about that, how to eliminate your attachment to these people. Okay? So whatever you decide to do today, have a wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Okay? Sawadee Kap.